Remember, this is showing what has been happening if the officer is denying to do what their seniors have handed them to do. Then this officer either is being threatened to be transferred or framed if they fail to deliver by correcting bribes. And also, the details bribery cartels are compromised they have compromised accident investigations. If you didn't have enough money, maybe you were involved in a road accident, maybe people died and you're the one who caused it. Because you have money, you can be able to give these officers and they cannot be able to do a proper report of what they are supposed to do, more so when it comes to investigations. And also extortions, rings, misuse of firearms, and also decaying infrastructure and gaps in training, revealing a security system which is weakened from within. And this is something that has been seen all over. And also something that we can be able to see from the IG himself there is that 1,000 shillings per week protection fee demanded from each vehicle. That is 1,000 shillings per week. Maybe if you can do a math, how many cars or how many matatus are on the road in the move, and they can be able to give 1,000 shillings each per week for protection, that is for protection demand, and it's being called that it's a protection fee. Then that is being corrected daily by these officers, and which is something which is very illegal. That is from 200 shillings to 1,000. How many cars or how many matatus are there on Ngong route every day? And maybe these cars goes and also returns and also goes back to the city, and as well as it returns. Then if you just do a simple math, you can be able to realize that it is a lot of cash that is being collected that day, maybe up to 500,000 or 1 million in a day. Then calculate that in a week. Of course, then that is more enough that can be able to be paying many people, and now these officers are getting it from the bribes that they do get from every car in the city. We are just talking from only one side of it. That is maybe in Nairobi. We have not heard of what happens from these other routes, that you can be able to realize that there is around 5 barricades of police officers, and also actually 5 stops or 5 checks of the police officers, and each either you are giving 200 or 1,000 shillings depending on how they requested from you. And this shows that how the police service is rotting from inside, and it's high time for the officers in charge to take responsibility. If not, then I think they should be quitting out and getting out, so that other people who can be able to do it better and also manage this mess of a police service, and also the bribes to be having investigations, and also some other people should be going actually to the jail. And this is making many Kenyans to losing their lives. And that is a story published on page 6 and 7 in that is it's a detailed report about what has been happening, and it's a graft machine. And from the photo that we are seeing there are 2 police officers, and they're standing next to the matatu, and maybe they are correcting their dues that they have been given a target of a day. And this is showing how our police service is rotten. That's a story published on page 6 and also page 7 of these newspapers. As we move on, we move to the other paper, that is the Daily Nation. And the Daily Nation here, they're talking about hackers' paradise. Vulnerable, several attacks later. Audit reports are gathering dust on the shelves of many state corner offices. This is something that happened yesterday. Excuse me, something that happened yesterday, where it's being reported that some cybercrime criminals yesterday made several government websites, including State House, inaccessible and defaced pages, altering their weakness. weaknesses. The attack exposes the state's laxity and puts the data of millions of Kenyans at risk. That is a story published on page 4 and also page 5 on what happened yesterday. Some government websites, more so the State House, were inaccessible and faced the page by being uttering by the visual and also these guys who hacked these pages hid their appearances, and it's something that it has been seen that the Auditor General had given out a warning on the system weaknesses, and the attack exposes the state's laxity and puts the data of millions of Kenyans at risk. That's a story given out on page 4 and also on page 5, and then down there is a timeline and also some breakdown given out since these attacks started. We can start from the March 2016. KRA hackers strike KRA allegedly, leading to loss of 4 billion shillings. Alex Mutuku is charged as dozens of KRA staffs are suspended. And elsewhere, on March 2022, the KPLC attempted hacking of KPLC prepaid system leads to delay in token purchases. Then in April 2023, KAA confirms that a group of identified as Mudusa breached its system but failed to steal any sensitive data. Elsewhere, on 2023, e-citizen and police and also public hospitals anonymous claims responsible for distributed denial of science attack, that is on the state attack on the websites, that is of e-citizen, public hospitals and also universities. Then on July 2023, ministries and departments, that is a second attack claimed by an anonymous Sudan, paralyzes websites of several ministries and also departments. This is a series of what has been happening, and also they're trying, they tried and also they hacked the system in the government, more so in different ministries and also key parastatals in the country, including the KRA, KAA and also KPLC, not forgetting that of e-citizen and also public hospitals and ministries and the departments that even people anonymous Sudan claims that responsible for disputed denials of attacks on the websites. And this is something that now the government should be taking it serious, since it was a warning given by the Auditor General that the system are weak, and something should have been done to ensure that this is not happening. Then from yesterday, what happened? Then that confirmed that, of course, whatever was given the warning, yes, the systems are weak. And that's the story published on page 4 and also page 5. Elsewhere, the low turnout mass hiring of 10,000 police officers. What we are seeing there is a picture of police officers who were being recruited yesterday, who were participating in that exercise. And what we are seeing there is a photo from a police officer engages prospective police recruits in physical exercise at Kapkures grounds in Nakuru West yesterday during the national recruitment. Unlike the previous years, there was poor turnout across the country, and this is something that is a photo from what happens on Nakuru. And also that story has been published on page 2. They're saying that the low turnout and the disappointment, Garol, that is the APTI, describes the National Police Service, that is NPS recruitment, which took place across the country yesterday. Among the disappointed were university graduates who hoped to be recruited, only to be told that the exercise targeted those who scored D+ in KCSE. University graduates who turned out for the listing in Kilifi were advised to go home. and we only need recruits who have who have completed KCSE and attained D+. The chairperson of the Kilifi Police Recruitment Panel, Mr. Davison Muga, said that is reported what happened, and also some disappointment that only the police officers who were to be recruited are those who scored a D+ in KCSE, and the university graduates were turned out not to be among those who were to be recruited yesterday. And of course, it's a disappointment, and that means that this is a job for a certain class of people and not everyone in the country. And that is a story that has been published on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Elsewhere, why not primary heads oppose elevation of junior school teachers? That's a story published on page 6. Why the Kenya National Union of Teachers and also the primary head teachers oppose the elevation of junior school teachers, and they have given reasons or why they don't want that to happen. And the Kenya Primary Schools Heads Association and the Kenya National Union of Teachers have rejected a proposed administrative structure they say would allow junior school teachers, many of them fresh college graduates, to supervise or rank at the same level as experienced school heads. This is a story published on page 6, and the reason to why these head teachers are against that is because they might be being supervised by these fresh graduates from university and also colleges, and they don't want that to happen. Elsewhere, on page 23, it's a deal that is Safaricom to partner with Musik's Starlink, and Safaricom has made peace with Elon Musk Starlink after the Teleco's parent firm, Vodafone, signed a deal with the US billionaire, allowing the Kenya firm to release Starlink satellites, data, and that is and equipment. That's a story published on page 23. Remember, some days back or some months back, there was an issue between Safaricom and also the Starlink to be launched in the country, and what brought up some issues here and there. And now that the Vodafone signed up an agreement with the US billionaire Elon Musk, now they will be having to allow it and work with it. That's a story published on page 23. Elsewhere on page 10, talking about the by-elections that are happening in the country actually in 19 days to come. That is on 27th of this month. That is the 27th of this month of November. It is Kindiki versus Gachagua, the battle of the deputies in do-die poll contest, and what they term as in what is shaping up as the battle of the deputies. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, who replaced Mr. Rigathi Gachagua after the latter was impeached last October last year, has vowed to teach his predecessor a political lesson he will never forget. In Mbeere Note, Mr. Gachagua, on his part, says he is rooting for the voters to humiliate the government. That's a story published on page 10 on the rankles of power, and also to see who is having a say in Mount Kenya, more so in Mbeere North, in the by-election that is coming. Remember, the Mbeere North member of parliament, the former member of parliament from Mbeere North, who was Geoffrey Iluku, who took it, who was nominated and also selected as the CS for a public service. That seat is being now contested by the government side and also the opposition, and being here the opposition being Rigathi Gachagua and his brigade, and where they are saying that they are going to teach our government the lesson, and also the deputy president saying that the current deputy president saying that he has to do everything to ensure that that seat is back, and it is supposed to be of the UDA brigade or from Kenya Kwanza administration. And that is all about what is featured on the Daily Nation. And the key headline here talking about the hackers' paradise. Of course, the several attacks later, and the audit reports are the gathering dust from the shelves of many state corner offices. And this is something that happened yesterday, and some of the government websites, including that of the State House, were hacked yesterday. And also we have seen a report on the police officers recruitment that was going on yesterday, and a photo we are seeing there from Kapkores, that is Nakuru West constituency in Nakuru County. And of course a story published on page 2 saying or confirming that most of the youths who were to be taken in were those who scored a D+ in KCSE, and some university graduates were denied a chance to try their luck in the police recruitment. And that was confirmed from Kilifi County, that is from the police who was in charge of the recruitment panel, that is Mr. Davison Muga, had turned those officers away. And of course we have seen a deal that between Safaricom to partner with Music Starlink, as told published on page 23, and also why the Kenya National Union of Teachers and also the primary heads, they oppose the elevation of junior school teachers, and their fear is that they might be supervised by these fresh graduates from university and also from colleges. And that's a story published on page 6. As we move on to the next paper, that is the Star newspaper. And also the Star newspaper has its publication here, of course, the 2027 epic race, that is the 2027 epic race, Ruto numbers against Kalonzo and also Gachagua. And this is the president has upper hand if he inherits Raila's entire voting bloc. And this is a publication showing that if the current president is gonna inherit Raila's entire voting bloc, then he has the upper hand of winning the 2027 general elections. A story published on page 4 and also page 5, and maybe if we push it up, and we're going to be able to see those zones, the President Ruto's zones, the battleground zones, and also the opposition bases. We're going to be able to see from President Ruto's bases. That is number 1. Talking of Uasin Gishu County, and also we have Nandi, we have Baringo, Kericho, Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, Turkana, Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, Mombasa. And then we have Kilifi, Kwale, Tana River, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Kakamega, Vihiga, Busia, Narok, Samburu, and Bomet. Those are 24 counties that is on President Ruto's basis. And number of registered voters on these all the 24 counties, or in the 24 areas that we have mentioned, that is from Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Baringo, Kericho, Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, Turkana, Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori, Mombasa, Kilifi, Kware, Tana River, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Kakamega, Vihiga, Busia, Narok, Samburu, and Bomet. The number of registered voters are 9,227,681. And let's get to the battleground zones. That is some counties where now the president has to fight, that is between him and also the opposition. And here we are talking about Nairobi, Kajiado, Isiolo, Marsabit, that's Tafeta, Lamu, Trans Nzoia, and also Bungoma. And the number of registered voters in these 80 counties is 4,033,858 registered voters in Nairobi, Kajiado, Isiolo, Marsabit, Taita Taveta, Lamu, Trans Nzoia, and also Bungoma. Elsewhere, the opposition bases, talking of Nyandarua, Laikipia, Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Machakos, Kitui, Nyamira, Kisii, and Nakuru, the number of registered voters is 8,400,000 430,993. And this is the zones where we can be able to see Kalonzo Musyoka and Rigathi Gachagua joining hands together, and they can be able to deliver over the 8,430,993. And the other side of where the president now hails to be seen that he has the upper hand, including the ODM or the Raila's backyard block, is 9,227,681, and the area, the battleground zones, that is the 80 counties, that is including Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, Lamu, Taita Taveta, Marsabit, Isiolo, Kajiado, and Nairobi. We are having 4,443,858, showing that if the president garners the support from the backyard of Raila Amolo Odinga, then he might be having the upper hand of winning compared to opposition, as per the statistics given here by the Star newspaper. And also, of course, there is an area here that now that is the battleground zones of 4,443,858, and this it can be a 50-50 or a wrangle the best candidates to get something there. And elsewhere on page 16, number of hungry Kenyans to increase from 1.8 million to 2.1 million by January. A report indicates that by 2026, then the number of hungry Kenyans, that is, it will be able to increase from 1.8 million to 2.1 million. That is by January. A report indicates. That's a story published on page 16. And also on page 3, a man, 67 years old, imprisoned for 22 years for stabbing a relative during family altercation. That is a story published on page 3, that a man who is 67 years old was imprisoned for 22 years for stabbing a relative during the family altercation. And that shows that already this man is 67 years old. If you add the 22 years that this man has been imprisoned, then it comes to 89 years in prison. He will be turning 89 years the time he will be finishing up his imprisonment. That's a story published on page 3 of the Star newspaper. And also on the upper side of this Star newspaper, there is a story there published on page 7 showing the interview. Odinga's former spokesperson, why ODM should support Ruto, is giving a report and also giving the reasons why ODM should support Ruto. And there is a story published on page 6 and also on page 7. And remember, every Tuesday on the pullout that is being published in this Star newspaper is my government pullout, and that is where for government tenders and jobs opportunities, you see my government pullout inside the Star newspaper, and you can be able to go through what is inside there and maybe to see the tenders advertised and the job opportunities in that pullout. As we move on this, that is what is published on the November Tuesday 18th 2025 on the Star newspaper, and the key headline is about the 2027 epic race, that is Ruto against Ruto numbers against Kalonzo and also Gachagua, and where we have seen from the entire elite where the president hails from and the areas that he might be having the upper hand, is having a total of 9.26 registered votes, and also the battle zone we have seen is 4.48, and also a number of registered voters from the opposition side is 8.4 million, and something that if the calculations remain as it is, and also the president gets the entire voting block of Raila Amolo Odinga, then he has the upper hand of winning the 2027 general elections, as per the report given out in the Star newspaper. Elsewhere, as we look at the People's Daily, the People's Daily newspaper is also having a similar tackle of that is the battle royale. Who will win the Mount Kenya vote? The crucial factors posed to shift the race. That is a story published on page 4. And the question here is that who is going to win the Mount Kenya region votes? And from what we are seeing, actually the mountain is on the middle. Then there are some men having their heads high alongside it. So from the current president, that is William Ruto, we're having Kalonzo Musyoka, we're having Martha Karua, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, George Natembeya, and also Rigathi Gachagua. And the question is, who is going to win? Who is going to win the battle of Mount Kenya from these men? Of course, the opposition, having Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, Fred Matiang'i, George Natembeya, and Rigathi Gachagua, they are eyeing to ensure that the president doesn't get any of the votes from Mount Kenya, and also his brigade, that is the current president, they are trying to ensure that they are going to deliver they are going to deliver Mount Kenya to the people, that is to the president. And it's something that the question that is being asked, who is going to do it? The crucial factors poised the shift of the race. That is a story published on page 4. Elsewhere on page 10, opinion by-election star tension as ODM faces post-Raila crash. And story, the opinion story published on page 10, showing the by-election star tension as ODM faces post-Raila crash. And remember, there is a lot has been said about the ODM and what has been happening in it. Remember, from that is the 20th anniversary on Saturday, the dinner they had. From it, there is a lot that has been seen to be there are some cracks in it. And if not taken keen look at it, then it might be splitting the party of ODM. Meanwhile, that story on page 10 showing the by-election star tension as ODM faces post-Raila crash. You can be able to go through it. And on the top of this newspaper, that is on page 6, there is a story published there that why the Rift Valley is quiet and what it means for the 2027 political contest. A story published showing the reason why the Rift Valley is still quiet and what it means for the 2027 political context. And for the two newspapers, that is the Star and also the People's Daily, they are talking about politics and also the race to 2027 and who may be having it and not having it. And from that descriptions and also the stories published on page 6 on the People's Daily and also story published on page 4, that's the battle royale, that is from the mountain, that is the Mount Kenya region. And also what we saw on this newspapers will just give you a picture of the tight race between the current government and also the opposition. And that is all for the People's Daily. And the key headline we have seen that they're asking who will win the Mount Kenya vote and the crucial factor poised to shift the race, as story published on page 4. And also elsewhere you have seen that the by-election stars tension as ODM faces the post-Raila crash. And elsewhere, as we move on, that is to Taifa Leo. On what has been published there is about wachezeana rafu. Wachezeana rafu pale. This is the opposition and their politics. They're saying that ni kampeni zilizojaa matusi, vitisho, kudhalilishana na propaganda chafu huku chaguzi ndogo sikikaribia. Kumbuka kwamba taarifa hii ama ripoti hii imechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili pale ambapo tunaona kwamba uchaguzi, kampeni za Mbeere North, Malava, Kasipul na Kisa East zimejaa propaganda mbaya, kupakana tope, vitisho na makabiliano hatari. Gachagua amewahimiza wakazi wa Mbeere Kaskazini kuzuia viongozi wa UDA kupiga kampeni katika eneo hilo siku moja tu baada ya gavana Mbarire kuomba IEBC imuzime Gachagua kuvumisha that is mavamiaji na DP katika eneo bunge hilo la Mbeere ama kuvumisha mwaniaji wa DP. katika eneo bunge hilo la Mbeere North. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. Tukisonga chini, kuna baadhi ya yale ambayo viongozi hao wamezungumza, na pale tunamuona Natembeya. Tunaona pale kila ambacho kinatajwa pale kwamba Natembeya akirudi hapa Kisa Mashariki siku nyingine tutamtoa. Kila ambacho kilikuwa kimetajwa, ningependa mwelekezo wangu asongeshe juu kidogo ndiposa tuweze kupata ni kipi kile ambapo huyu Cleophas Malala alizungumza pale. Katika picha ambayo tunaiona pale, tunaona picha ya Boni Halwale, picha yake Cleophas Malala, picha yake Boyd Were na Cecily Mbarire, na kila ambacho huyu ambaye ni Cleophas Malala amestaja, alimnyoshia kidole cha lawama kwamba Natembeya ni mtu ambaye anatumika na serikali, na bila shaka na taarifa ya NS anazitoa pale, na kila ambacho amesema hapa ni kinukuu vile ambavyo kimeandikwa, ni kwamba Natembeya akirudi hapa Kisa Mashariki siku nyingine tutamtoa suruali. Huyo ni mfuko wa NIS, ni Cleophas Malala aliyataja yale. Na wakati huu mwingine ama sehemu nyingine tukimwangalia ni kipi ambacho alizungumza Rigathi Gachagua. Hao ndio wawili ambao wako na vipasa sauti pale, ni kwamba tunataka kutangaza hapa kuwa siku ya kura hakuna mgeni atakubaliwa hapa Mbeere Kaskazini mpaka kura ipigwe na uchaguzi ukamilike. Ikiwa kwamba ni vuta ni kuvute, kupakana tope, matusi na bila shaka vita ambavyo ni vya kibabe, na vionyesha kwamba nani ndiye atakayebeba siku asua kati ya upinzani na serikali. Na baadhi ya wale ambao tumeona hapa ni wawaniaji na wengine ambao wamekuwa wakifanya kampeni katika maeneo hayo asua Kisa Mashariki, Mbeere North, bila kusahau Kasipul, ama eneo lile la Kasipul ambapo Boyd Were anatoka pale. Na eneo ile la Kasipul ni eneo bunge ambalo tumeona vita vimekuwa vikichaja, haswa watu kuuawa wanapojiandaa katika uchaguzi ndogo ama chaguzi ndogo ambazo zilikuwa zinafanyika tarehe 27 mwezi huu wa 11 ama wa Novemba mwaka 2025. Katika ukurasa wa 5, Nasri aonya wanafiki katika ODM. Gavana huyo adai wapo watu wanaolipwa ili kusababisha mgogoro chamani. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 5. Haya yanatokana na ile maadhimisho ya miaka 20 yaliyofanyika pale Mombasa, na bila shaka tuliona kwamba nyuva zimeanza kuonekana katika chungwa pale, na basi huyu gavana Nasri anataja kwamba amewaonya manafiki katika ODM, huku akidai wapo watu ambao huwa wanalipwa kusababisha migogoro katika chama cha ODM. Kwingineko ukurasa wa 2, njia ni ipi kwa gavana Orengo? Aonekana kupinga msimamo wa baadhi ya viongozi wa ODM kuunga serikali ya Ruto mkono. Ukurasa wa 2, je, ni wapi huyu James Orengo ambaye ni gavana wa kaunti ya Siaya anaelekea, na siasa hizi zinampeleka namna gani? Basi ni swali ambalo limeulizwa, ni taarifa ambayo tutakuwa tunaisoma kwa kina katika ukurasa wa 2. Kwingineko ukurasa wa 3 na ukurasa wa 10 pale, taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa ni kuhusiana vijana wachache wajitokeza kwa usajili wa polisi. Wengi wakosa ari ya kuwa polisi, wengine wakichoshwa na masharti kama vile hitaji la alama ya ongeza pale. Remember the story that we saw from the Daily Nation showing that some university graduates who were trying to scale a chance to be recruited as police officers were turned away because it was termed to be the people who are only required to do or to attend or to try the recruitment, they are the D+, and also who did the KCSE with the mini grade or who scored a D+ and below. And that is something that some of them mentioned as something that has demoralized them. Na tukiangazia zaidi katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo upande wa juu ukurasa wa 3, nasema kwamba wadukuzi wafanyia serikali ile kitu. Ukurasa wa 3. Wamefanya kitu gani? Walidukua tofuti za serikali. Sema kwamba serikali yakiri kuwa nyingi ya tofuti zake ikiwemo ya urais zimeingiliwa. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3, na ni taarifa ambazo tutakuwa tunazisoma kwa kina ufahamu ni kipi kile ambacho kimekuwa kikiendelea haswa katika serikali. Na wakati mwingine pale tuliona kile ambacho kimekuwa kiendelea tangia mwaka 2016 hadi sasa hivi, kwa kwamba udokuzi umekuwa ukifanywa katika serikali na basi hawajafanya lolote la kuhakikisha kwamba hilo alifanyike tena. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3. Kwingineko ukurasa wa 13 hadi ukurasa wa 20 pale ni Mwanaspoti ama pull out ya Mwanaspoti kwa wale ambao ni wapenzi wa soka. Akisema kwamba wapenzi wa soka hapa utampata Jemo the top scorer akisema kwamba gazeti hili angependa kulipata moja kwa moja, angazie pale. Yani kipi kile ambacho kimeangaziwa ni Nigeria nje ya kombe la dunia kwa mara nyingine tena. Hii ni baada ya kulazwa kwa penalty na DRC katika mchucho wa Afrika. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 13 hadi ukurasa wa 20 katika Mwanaspoti, ambayo ni pull out utakuwa unaipata katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, na hapo utakuwa unaangazia yale yote ambayo yanahusiana na spoti, haswa kombe la dunia la Afrika, na ikiwa kwamba sasa Nigeria imetupwa mbali ama imetolewa katika mchujo wa Afrika. Tunapozidi kusonga mbele, and those are some of the stories published on the Taifa Leo newspaper, and the key headline being wachezeana rafu, showing what has been happening in the by-elections campaigns, and also what some of the leaders have been saying, and as they are campaigning for their own interested candidates in those by-elections. Elsewhere, as we wrap it up on the Business Daily, the Tycoon Munga China farm row over 4 trillion coal mines, and this is a story published on the Business Daily, showing about the billionaire asks state to ignore stringent partners, and also Fengxi Mining accuses Kenya for backing local investors, and also a story that is a dispute showing the businessman Munga during the past function in Nairobi, and also a story published by Brian Wasuna, a company associated with the Tycoon, is locked in Fisher's dispute with the Chinese investor over ownership of coal mines in Kitui, with the deposits estimated to be worth more than 3.9 trillion. China's Fengxi Mining Industry Corporation Limited has threatened to file arbitration proceedings against Kenya, alleging that the government has for over a decade unlawfully allowed Mr. Munga and Dr. Karidhi to frustrate its 21-year-old Mui Basin consecration, and also Mr. Munga and Dr. Karidhi are co-owners of the Great Lakes Corporation, and which is claiming a 30% stake in the blocks C and D of the Mui Coal Basin in Kitui. That is a story published on page 2. And elsewhere, if you can be having a look at the tickers, is that Kenya delivers 1,795 affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Board delivers less than 200,000, that is 2,000 units for occupation in the year ended in June 2025, making up a small fraction of the 200,000 homes annual target under President William Ruto's flagship project. Elsewhere, and that's a story that we're going to be able to read on page 4. And elsewhere, equity funds struggle. That is, equity funds struggle attract investors. That is a fear of risk among retail investors, and relatively stable returns from instruments such as money market funds have seen equity fund struggle to bull in investors. That is a story published on page 14. And as we move on elsewhere on the that is on the other side of the newspaper, that's talking about the investments. Sacco dividends cuts raise capital to record levels. That is a story published by Patrick Arusula, saying that a savings and credit cooperative, that is the savings and also credit cooperative SACCOs have cut dividends payouts and increased the cash reserves to cover unexpected losses, pointing to the outcome of the heightened regulatory scrutiny that debarred the societies from paying unrealistic dividends and also the bonuses to members. And this is a story published on this page, and you can be able to go through it, showing the SACCO capital that is from the year 2024-2025, and also that is a 17.8 up to 18.52, and also and the percentage that is the 2023 actually showing from the year 2020 up to 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2023-2024 and also 2024-2025. And also the DT and the NWD SACCO have been beefing up capital. And that's a story you're going to be able to read on page 2 of this newspaper. Elsewhere on the top of the Business Daily, talking about the market data. And also that is the exchange rate. On Friday it was on that is on 14th of November 2025, and also yesterday, Monday 17th November 2025, it has remained to be 129.29. that was on Friday. And also yesterday it was 129.36. that is the exchange rate of a shilling to USD. And elsewhere on a story published on page 9 by Njeri Wagasha, talking about the intelligence companies are increasingly aware that a successful African strategy requires far more than compelling business models. That is a story published on page 9. And elsewhere on page 19, talking about life, why Kenyan super rich prefer to set up trusts in Mauritius. That is a story published on page 19. Why Kenyan super rich people prefer to set up their trusts in Mauritius. And that is a story you're going to be able to read through the Business Daily on page 19. And that is all about what we had prepared for you on the newspaper review. And from the Business Daily, we have seen the Tycoon Munga China farm row over the 4 trillion coal mines, and it's a case that they are rushing to ensure that it is solved. And also from what we saw on the Standard newspaper, the police bribe bracket, showing what the police officers do correct on roads, more so the traffic police officers. And also the Daily Nation was talking about the hackers paradise and also the police recruitment that happened yesterday. And on the Star, the 2027 epic race, showing that Ruto numbers against Kalonzo and Gachagua. And elsewhere on the People's Daily, they were talking about who will win the Mount Kenya votes and the crucial factor poised to shift the race. And also the Taifa Leo talked about wachezeana rafu, that is the politicians who are doing their campaigns to ensure that they are packing it up on the ongoing or on the oncoming by-election this month on 27. And that is where we wrap it up, 26 minutes past 7 a.m. As I take a short break, once back, I will be taking you through the morning report. Don't go too far. Remember that you can be able to engage with us on our social media platforms. That is Ndizi TV Africa. That is on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and also TikTok as Ndizi TV Africa. Elsewhere, you can be able to engage with us via our SMS number. On our SMS number, that is 21575. Not forgetting that you can also have a conversation with us via our WhatsApp number, that is 0711-199890. That is maybe you can be able to go through some of the WhatsApp text messages that have been sent. Maybe that is after the morning, that is as we keep on, I can be able to see who is this. Is that it goes by the name, getting the name of that is the name is ansema anaitwa nani huyu. Jina lake sijalipata pale, lakini ni Charles Luanga kutoka Nyamira County, saying that wapenda nao ndio wale wa mwalimu Charles Luanga from Nyamira County, Kenyerere Basement, with his wife Jacqueline Kwamboka, and ndani ya show with Weldon Nyaore, Lavi Kwamboka, Sylvia, they are watching and also streaming well hadi mwisho. Asante sana Charles, mwalimu Charles Luanga, for following up the that is the morning bus show, and also the that is the newspaper review. And also you can be able to engage with us on also our WhatsApp number, that is 0711-199890, where we can be able to have to go through your text messages as you send them here one-on-one. I'm taking a short break. Once back, I'll be having the morning report as we keep moving, and this is Ndizi TV Africa. I'm Jeff Nyakundi. Don't go too far.